we are going to be breaking down the Week 13 Sunday and Monday night football games. And if you missed our last week's video, we had a really good week. Our official record is now 9-5, but we are up 3.52 units with some nice help with a couple plus money wins. Now, let's get to this week's games. So, the games are the following this weekend. Los Angeles Chargers minus 1.5 points at Atlanta Falcons with the over at 47.5 points. Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3 points at Cincinnati Bengals with the over at 47 points. Houston Texans minus 5 points at Jacksonville Jaguars with the over at 43 points. Arizona Cardinals plus 3.5 points and Minnesota Vikings with the over at 45.5 points. Indianapolis Colts minus 2.5 points at New England Patriots with the over at 42.5 points. Seattle Seahawks minus 2 points at New York Jets with the over at 41.5 points. Tennessee Titans plus 5.5 points at Washington Commanders with the over at 44.5 points. Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 6 points at Carolina Panthers with the over at 46.5 points. Los Angeles Rams minus 3 points at New Orleans Saints with the over at 48.5 points. Philadelphia Eagles plus 3 points at Baltimore Ravens with the over at 51 points. San Francisco 49ers plus 7 points at Buffalo Bills with the over at 45 points. Cleveland Browns plus 5.5 points at Denver Broncos with the over at 42 points. So let's start with the first game on the slate. Los Angeles Chargers minus 1.5 points at Atlanta Falcons with the over at 47.5 points. This is one of the more intriguing games this weekend, and the Chargers running back J.K. Dobbins suffered a knee sprain in Monday's game that will cause him to miss some time, and he is out this weekend. Chargers will also have to go cross-county on a short rest since they played on Monday night. And not only that, this game is slated for the 1 p.m. slot, which means it is like a 10 a.m. game for the Chargers. Then you got the Falcons off of bye at home. All signs point to the Falcons in this game, but their lack of pass rush really scares me. And when you give a very good quarterback like Justin Herbert time, he will pick you apart. For this game, I like the over at 47.5 points. Another angle I am looking to tackle this is the fact that the Falcons are bad against pass-catching running backs this year. They give up the third most receptions. Now, J.K. being out really put this in a weird spot because Gus Edwards would be the starter, and he is a bigger back who does not really run many routes. Now, in the next game, we got is the Pittsburgh Steelers plus 3 points at Cincinnati Bengals with the over at 47 points. I'll take the Steelers plus the 3 points. Mike Tomlin has a very impressive 63-36 record, straight up after a regular season loss, and has covered the spread in 57% of those bounce-back games. The Steelers are also 21-11 against the spread as underdogs under Tomlin's. Defensively, the Steelers are among the league's best, ranking in the top 5 for EPA allowed per play and defensive DVOA. They've also been disruptive, tallying 22 takeaways, which tied for second, and 68 quarterback sacks this season. This is important because the Bengals' pass protection is terrible, ranking 26th in pass block win rate, with Joe Burrow enduring 26 sacks and 43 QB hits, which is the third most in the league. This just screams disaster for the Bengals. They'll have to do a lot of dink and dunking just to make sure the pass protection doesn't get Joe Burrow crushed. And that is another way I'm playing this game. Joe Burrow, over 24.5 pass completions. I think we see a lot of screens, quick passes, and quick plays otherwise. TJ Watt and this D-line is going to make it a long day for Joe. Another way I'm going to play this game is Pat Freiermuth over 25.5 receiving yards, and I like his touchdown prop as well at plus 375. The Bengals rank 30th in yards against tight ends and 30th at .64 touchdowns a game. Only the Panthers at .82 are worse. Will Dissly went for 80 yards. Mark Andrews went for 68 yards. David Njoku went for 76 yards. And it's been like that all year for the Bengals against tight ends. Next, we got the Houston Texans -5 points at Jacksonville Jaguars with the over at 43 points. This game has pass all over it. The Texans are coming off a bad loss at home against the Titans, and they look bad. C.J. Stroud is regressing, and the Jags off a bye in a divisional game is a tricky spot. One way I'm going to play this is Joe Mixon over rushing and receiving yards at 106.5 yards. The Jaguars are very bad against pass-catching running backs, ranking 31st in yards, giving up an average of 49 yards a game. And on the ground, they're giving up an average of 104 yards, which ranks in the bottom half. Next, we got the Arizona Cardinals plus 3.5 points at Minnesota Vikings with the over at 45.5 points. This is another tight game. Kyler Murray looked terrible last week against the Seahawks, and he is really hit or miss. Sometimes he looks amazing, and other times he looks like a backup quarterback, making stupid mistakes and throwing terrible pick sixes. I lean under 45.5 points here. I think the Vikings will bear to really stuff the run, which will make the Cardinals one-dimensional and will start throwing 40-plus times, which they love doing, but is not the best thing to do. Also, the Vikings are giving up just 18 points a game, and when you look at the games they play in, Minnesota, they have been lights out, except for the one game against arguably the best offense in the league. The Cardinals do not have that firepower. They held the Texans to 7 points, the Colts to 13 points, and the 49ers to 17 points. The next game we got is the Indianapolis Colts -2.5 points at New England Patriots with the over at 42.5 points. This is another super close game. Two bottom-tier teams, and this is a game I will be staying away from. Next, we got the Seattle Seahawks -2 points at New York Jets with the over at 41.5 points. The Seawax are coming off an emotionally important game against the Cardinals, and the Jets had a bye last week. Another West Coast team that has to travel across the country to play a 1 o'clock game. I like the under of 41.5 in this game. The Seahawks defense has been steadily improving in recent weeks, showing the kind of performance I expected under Mike Macdonald this season. Seattle's offensive line ranks 25th in pass block win rate, with the interior being a particular weakness, especially after the mid-season retirement of center Connor Williams. The Jets' strong interior defensive line, led by Quinnen Williams, will be a challenge. Geno Smith's passer rating drops from a 9.5% pass with a clean pocket to 53.4 under pressure this season. On Sunday, they limited the Cardinals to just 2 field goals and forced a 3-12 performance on third downs. The Cardinals came into the game with one of the league's most formidable rushing attacks, but Seattle held them to just 14 carries for 49 yards. As for the Jets, they should be able to pressure Seattle. The Seahawks' offensive line ranks 25th in pass block win rate, with the interior being a particular weakness, especially after the mid-season retirement of center Connor Williams. The Jets' strong interior defensive line led by Quinnen Williams, will be a challenge. Geno Smith's passer rating drops from 105.4 with a clean pocket to 53.4 under pressure this season. Next, we got the Tennessee Titans plus 5.5 points at Washington Commanders, with the over at 44.5 points. The Titans are coming off their best win of the year, beating the Texans last week, and the Commanders are coming off their worst week, losing to the Cowboys at home as a 10-plus point favorite. The Titans are going to stuff on the run, and I think this game is actually a lot closer than most think. In a close game, Jayden Daniels will take off and run a lot, which is why I am taking his over 35.5 rushing yard prop 115. Next we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 6 points at Carolina Panthers with the over at 46.5 points. Both teams looked really good last week, but I am going back to the well here in this game. I like the Buccaneers to win and Mike Evans to score a touchdown at plus 175. The Buccaneers' offense has been on the rise, and with Mike Evans back, Baker Mayfield now has the crucial support he needs in the receiving game. Evans was not needed much last week and was able to get his feet under himself last week. And now Carolina's defense, on the other hand, has struggled, ranking dead last in pressure rate and 30th in pass defense, PVOA. This sets up Mayfield for a strong performance against his former team. Next, we got the Los Angeles Rams minus 3 points at New Orleans Saints with the over at 48.5 points. The Saints have looked like an offensive juggernaut one week, only to struggle to move the chains the next. Coming off a bye in Week 12, New Orleans managed back-to-back wins, including a dominant 35.473-yard performance against Cleveland. However, while the Browns only scored 14 points, they still racked up 443 yards against the Saints' defense. New Orleans ranks 31st in yards allowed per play and will face a Rams offense that has been moving the ball well, ranking number 5 in success rate per play since Week 10, though they've struggled to finish drives in the red zone. Just a 45% touchdown rate in the last 3 games. 3 was, with the total set just under the key 47-point mark, and both teams dealing with weak defenses and the fast indoor turf of the Superdome, I'm leaning toward betting the over 46.5 now. Matthew Stafford is set up for a big performance against the Saints defense that ranks just 28th in pass rush win rate. When given time in the pocket, Stafford has been impressive this season, throwing 13 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions and earning an 88.5 PFF passing grade. In contrast, when under pressure, his numbers drop significantly, just 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and a 28.5 PFF passing grade. This favorable matchup could allow Stafford to shine if he stays protected. I also like Puka Nacua over 78.5 receiving yards at minus 115. Another bet I like is Taysom Hill over receiving yards at 30.5. Next, we got the best game of the week by far, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles plus 2.5 points at Baltimore Ravens with the over at 51 points. The Ravens have the number 2 ranked rush defense in the NFL, so Saquon Barkley might have a hard time to get going. This means Jalen Hurts may have to carry the Eagles. And I know what you might be thinking. The Ravens' pass defense is not good, but in the past 2 weeks, the Ravens have not given up a passing touchdown and have been looking a lot better. The Eagles' defense continues to shine as one of the league's elite units. Since Week 6, they've ranked in the top 3 in defensive EPA per/play and success rate, with Vic Fangio finding the right mix of players for this talented group. Lamar Jackson will face a tough challenge here, and the Eagles are well prepared to slow down Derrick Henry, thanks to their dominant defensive line tandem of Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, who rank 4th in run-stop win rate. But the last time, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens played a Vic Fangio-led defense, the Ravens won 56-19, and Lamar threw for 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, and ran for another 35 yards. This was last year when the Ravens beat the Dolphins. And then there is also the fact that Lamar Jackson is 22-1 against NFC teams in his career. I mean, look at these stats. When Lamar Jackson has played Vic Fangio-led defenses, the Ravens are averaging 40 points a game. Lamar is averaging 350 yards a game, a 69% competition percent, 6 touchdowns, no picks, and a 139.8 passer rating. Those are incredible numbers. I'm leaning toward Ravens here. The other thing with the Ravens is they always play up to their opponents and down to their opponents. This means when they play really good teams, they play their best. And when they play really bad teams, they usually stoop low to their level. Like last year, they absolutely annihilated the Lions 38-6 and the Seahawks 37-3. And of course, the 49ers on Christmas Day last year, when they went into Santa Clara and crushed them 33-19. And the Dolphins as well, 56-19. And then this year, when they scratched your bells, 35-10. But they also play terrible games and lose, which makes you scratch your head like how they lost to the Browns and Raiders. Now, the good news for Ravens fans and backers is the Eagles are a good team, which means they'll be ready to play. Give me Baltimore minus 2.5. As for props in this game, I see a good balanced Lamar Jackson game in the air and Derrick Henry in the backfield. So, with that being said, I'd like Rashad Bateman over 36.5 yards. Another bet I like is Saquon over 2.5 catches. The Eagles will need to get him involved, and the Ravens are one of the best at stopping the run. So with the run not being there, I see a few screenplays for him. Next, for Sunday Night Football, we got the 49ers plus 6.5 points at Buffalo Bills with the over at 45 points. The 49ers are desperate, but they have not been playing good football. Nick Bosa and Trent Williams has already been ruled out, which are huge losses. It is also predicted that a lot of snow is possible in Buffalo for the game, making this even more interesting. This is a game you'll have to monitor because, again, Brock Purdy may or play, and this will really impact my bet personally. If Purdy does play, I would like the 49ers plus the points. The 49ers will need to be really heavy on the run, and we have seen the Bills be susceptible against the run. I also like CMC over his rushing and receiving yards at 86.5 yards. The last game for Week 13 is the Cleveland Browns plus 5.5 points at Denver Broncos with the over at 42 points. I like the Broncos here. The year really coming together and their defense is clicking. They should be able to get to 23 or so points, which is enough in my opinion to cover this number. And that is it for this week. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video for more betting and sport snooze. See you in the next one.